Let me call the April meeting together at 1:06. Just one announcement, it's a slight difference in the agenda. After the announcements in between 1 and 2, we're going to have Kevin O'Brien and Kevin Luzinski from Upstate Agency speak to us about cyber insurance. They're here. And what I'd like to do is, let's see, starting with Margaret. We go around the table and identify ourselves because we have some new people and one new member here today. And just tell us where you're from too.
Okay, Margaret Shapiro. I'm from representing Crandall Public Library in Glens Falls and Warren County.
Hi, I'm Sarah Dowles. I'm the director of SALS, and welcome everyone. Good to see you all.
Laura Goodman, I represent Washington County and I live in Greenwich.
Jordan Hornstein, Hamilton County, and from Long Lake.
Janet Linder, Saratoga County, Saratoga Springs. Sue Beck, Warren County, Adirondack.
Bob Shepherd, sales treasurer, I live in Greenwich.
Russ Wise, Clifton Park, Half Moon, Saratoga County, board president.
Carol Kerr, Washington County, the partner.
Elaine Cowan, Warren County, and I live in Warrensburg, and our local library is the Richards Library.
Chris Connell, Saratoga County, and the Waterford Public Library.
Nancy Vineyard, I live in Indian Lake, Hamilton County. Barbara Taylor, Hamilton County and Long Lake.
Chris Mundell, Joint Animation staff.
Michelle Margie, Joint Animation. Colleen Smith, Finance and Administration Manager at SALS.
And Russ was behind me.
Okay, and Erica,
I'm Erica Freudenberger, the Outreach Engagement and Marketing Consultant at SALS.
Jill,
Hi, I'm Jill Ryder. I'm the Collection Management Consultant and Assistant Director at SALS.
okay, Eric,
Eric Trahan, Mohawk Valley Library System.
very good, thank you. And I think we are also, Alex, are you here yet? Alex Cuchilius, who is our library director, representative of Library Council.
I am. I'm here.
Okay, thank you. All right, can we move, making it easy, Kevin and Kevin? Sounds like an act. Could we have you brief us on what's going on with cyber insurance?
Sure, if you don't mind, we'll just stand up. But I think anyways, thank you for having the two Kevins in the room at one point in time here, but also to Sarah and Michelle, also Chris, the last couple of months, we've worked hand in hand, weekly, monthly, daily, and again, getting a cyber policy in place. And again, high level or basic stuff is, you guys operate a network, right? That again, members utilize to move books around and sign in. And those members also are looking at patrons' information, right? So my date of birth is in there. And again, it's just in this day and age, as we all read, we're just a target for cyber crimes, ransomware, all sorts of lovely things that you read in the newspaper. So we've worked with a couple different underwriting carriers to again assess what your needs are, and then came together and got a couple different quotations and proposals that we've shared with the staff here to go through and that kind of stuff. So that's short and sweet.
Have you seen a copy of the cyber option?
The newest one?
Yes,
If you have the newest one, I'll make copies for everybody.
Sarah,
Yep.
I got it.
we did.
I think we got a couple.
So we printed some, a few.
Thank you.
Yeah.
We would have sent it out much earlier, but I think this is really hot off the press.
Each person,
Yeah.
each person gets one of these.
Yes.
I'm gonna need more than 12.
Yeah, I-
Pass these around and then when we run out, I'll make more.
There should be, we did one for sales, one for.
I have more, I probably left for Eric. Yeah. Yeah, so what we're passing around is, again, we did earlier on with Michelle and Chris and Sarah, we did send the actual proposal from the carrier. What you're looking at here is just, again, a little bit higher level that explains what the coverages are that are usually in a cyber policy, and also the coverage limits and the deductibles. So we're gonna be.
If someone else needs one, I can share.
Thank you very much. Right, so what you're looking at here, so this is essentially, I think Kevin probably shared the actual quote with you. This is more like it's a different format, it's more readable, it's easier to get to interpret. So what this is a cyber and technology professional liability combined policy. Okay, so you see the named insured would be Southern Adirondack Library System right up top. Cyber and tech professional, the carrier that's being proposed is Lloyd's of London. Lloyd's has been around forever. They started insurance. They're based out of London. They write anything. Cyber is a specialty for them. So what they've done here is they've put together an option for you that has essentially 5 coverage parts built into this one cyber program. One of them on part 1 being professional liability. That's the technology professional liability. So that is a common coverage for organizations that are offering services. It's essentially the first party coverage that protects your negligence for the product or system that you are offering. Okay, so if there's a glitch, something goes wrong with the system that ultimately impacts your participating libraries, it protects your negligence in providing that service. It's very similar to us as insurance brokers. We have our own professional liability, accountants do the same, lawyers do the same. It protects your negligence. It's first party coverage, it covers SALS. Now, if you go down, it's a $2 million limit. Okay, so that is that's an aggregate limit throughout one annual term. Okay, so you have a total $2 million limit for that coverage part. And then as you go down further in this, it goes into the cyber coverages. So you have network security and privacy liability, as well as a $2 million limit. Cyber incident response. These are your response costs, your legal costs, your forensic costs. Keep going down to part 4, cyber crime. This is, so in addition to an actual breach, there's a lot of crime built into these cyber products. It could be funds transfer fraud, it could be a wide array of things, but you'll see that the limit varies in this coverage part just because this is likely the most common claim section in any cyber program, just because of how smart the cyber criminals are. The biggest one on here is extortion, although I put ransomware in parentheses because yeah, it's huge. It happens everywhere. Click on one link, that link, before you know it, the system goes black and you have to pay $500,000 to get it back. The ransomware is huge. So this Lloyd's is actually providing $1 million limit for that. It's not the full 2, which is very common, but $1 million actually is very higher than most carriers will provide for this. Usually it's a sub limit to 250 or so. So that's a really good coverage that they're including there. This also provides coverage for what's called social engineering. So somebody sends you an email, asks you to, hey, such and such needs X amount of dollars wired today, and it comes from the director. A lot of people will be surprised we'll do that. We'll do it, or they'll click on a false link. That's called social engineering. That provides coverage for this as well. Another big part of a cyber program, which is also almost equally as important, is business interruption. So the business interruption component to a cyber program can be extremely detrimental to a business that, for example, doesn't apply to you, but if you're a manufacturer or you're creating a product and you're shut down for X amount of weeks, lost, and this will provide coverage for lost revenues, anything you lost while you were shut down. The idea here is SALS was offering this product, this system to all the participating libraries, that it has its own specific cyber program. Because the reality is cyber is huge right now. It's probably the biggest line of coverage that we're working with all of our clients on. And the idea is that, you know, we need you to be protected. If you have participating libraries that are using a combined system, you can access the system at any library at any point in time. You can see the exposure that creates. So this is a very important program. Lloyd's is a very strong market. We do a lot of business with Lloyd's. I know Kevin had worked with several other carriers as well, just so you know, it's not one carrier we work with. So we worked with, I think there was 10 or 12 other markets that.
Yeah, big ones were Travelers and Beasley and Swift and Cliff or something.
Yeah. Chubb, Philadelphia.
Chubb was out there, yeah.
Lloyd's is usually the most competitive, and many of the other markets declined, and they didn't want to write it because they didn't like the exposure of one system being easily accessible to multiple participating libraries. So Lloyd's did a nice job of stepping up and putting together a nice solid program.
Is there an expectation that the member libraries also have insurance? Is that
A cyber program?
Is that a caveat to this policy?
No.
No, it's not a caveat, but again, that's really where Michelle and I started from, was because again, over the last year and a half, she was getting all the questionnaires from those member agencies. Her and I got on a call together somehow or another, and then that's where we started. But no, it's not that, however, for their own, you know, when the act happens, right, at your library, and somebody in your library hits that link, right? Because we're all clicking on links these days, and it affects the whole network, right? So there's going to be, again, there's protection, right? However, you know, somebody may want to come back against that library that, you know, instituted it. So it's going to be best practice, it's going to be due diligence, right? A fiduciary responsibility that passes along to the network.
Right, it's important to note, the cyber program is built to cover the system that SALS is offering to all these libraries, but it's also important to know you won't always know what's going on at the other libraries, like in terms of who's accessing the internet, who's checking their Gmail, who's on this website or that website. So to answer your question, we would highly recommend that every library who's participating as part of this program also has their own program as well, because the program won't step down and cover a clause a claim that originated outside of SALS system at Saratoga County's library. That's when their specific program would respond. And then if it flows up to the system that SALS is providing, then SALS would respond on an access basis. So to answer your question, this is the first stepping stone. It's important to have it because everyone's gonna have access to it. The next plan down the road would be for every library to make sure they have their own cyber program, because the reality is nowadays, even if it's a basic office exposure, everyone has a cyber exposure.
And going back to ransomware, is it the practice these days to immediately pay the ransom?
On the ones that, you know, I've had, because I handle most of the claims at Upstate, so the ones that have come across my desk, you know, you get, when you report the claim, again, there's a attorney that's involved, so we defer to them. I have seen in the trades lately that has been.
What we would do is anytime there's any type of claim, whether it's ransomware or not, we would report the claim for you.
Yeah.
We essentially advocate for you.
Mhm.
So ultimately, the carrier really ultimately is the one that determines coverage. We know what the coverage is. We advocate for you. So,
It's recommended we contact our attorney immediately.
yep, contact us immediately so we
Yeah.
understand what's going on. We'll report it directly to the carrier. We're not gonna leave you hanging. We're gonna help you along the way to make sure that the carrier is getting you what you need. You gotta get your system back up and running. Cyber is such a changing line of coverage in our industry. They'll have specialists that'll be involved right from the get-go.
And usually, again, Russ, they will, the carrier will recommend a attorney that has the experience in the cyber, and then you have to sign off.
And they can often work with your attorney as well.
Yeah.
So the only other item that is, we discussed the limit, we discussed the carrier. So you see where it says deductible. So this policy with Lloyd's has a $10,000 deductible, so that applies per claim. Okay. It's not an aggregate deductible, meaning you have multiple claims in one year and it adds up to the 10,000, then there's no deductible per claim. Does apply to defense costs, expenses, which is common for this type of program. The reason why the deductible is higher at $10,000 is because you have one system that multiple libraries are accessing, so there's a lot of exposure there. So the idea is that Lloyd's wants you to retain that first $10,000 of when a claim occurs. And then once that, basically, the claim would have to be in excess of $10,000 for them to respond, is how the deductible works.
I can
And
imagine,
that's the lowest that they would go.
I can imagine an incident that might affect more than one of these areas.
Yes.
Would the $10,000 be applied as a solitary incident or across multiple areas?
It's per claim, so if there's multiple incidents on one originating trigger, that's one claim, so that one deductible would apply. Yeah, it's not like. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
There's another thing I think we should talk about, the JA SALS. Michelle, do you feel comfortable talking about that?
Sure. Jump in if you need to. So this policy I'm working with Kevin is to cover SALS and the joint automation, so it's a combined thing. So we talked to Kevin about how to break up the expense, like how much should JA pay and how much SALS pay, because JA's budget should cover piece that covers JA. And Kevin explained that this is based on revenue, which based on our budgets would mean that SALS would pay 60% and JA would pay 40% of this. Which totals 50 or 96.38, and I did the math, that would be 60% would be 57.82, 80 cents.
And we can help, just so you know, assuming that we do find coverage and move forward with this, we can help with. Ultimately, it's an internal allocation between the two entities. We can help, we can do down invoices, we can make it easier. You know what I'm saying? On you, from a service
We do
perspective.
lots of doing that for
Yeah.
SALS and JA, so we're pretty good at that.
But we do that for other clients, so we're happy to help out, just to make things easier.
So this coverage, I think, you know, as much as I hope we don't have a claim, it does have a lot in here that I feel very strong, very good about, which is the assistance to response. That was really important to me. If we were to have a cyber incident, this covers the cost of an expert coming in, working with Chris and some to respond correctly. Because it's not something hopefully we ever have any experience with.
And it also helps with hardware replacement too. So if you have something that's outdated that led to the claim.
Right.
This type of policy would respond to help get those systems updated to where they need to be.
One of the things, again, in the ones that I've been involved on the claim side of the is you do have the cyber attorney that's assigned with the claim adjuster. Also, there's a breach coordinator, right? Because again, that's a new term these days. And so therefore there's a breach expert that comes in and that whole team just holds your hands, coordinates everything, pull the plug out of the wall so nothing else happens, you know, just shut the system down, all that kind of good stuff. And you know, they've been working out fine with that team approach.
What's the more you want to think about?
I just want to make sure that all of your questions, concerns, you want to speak out loud while we have experts in the room. And as Kevin said, that we usually like to get 3 quotes. And because you're brokers, you've done all of that work behind and you compared it with 3 other companies. So we're
And that's just so you know, yes, here's the option, but we also internally have our own process with how we handle our renewals. I mean, ideally, we're all, it's a relationship business. We'd like to have clients with a carrier for X amount of years to maintain. But we're always monitoring the marketplace. Appetites are constantly changing. Pricing is changing. So just what you see now may not be the same next year. And we're happy to go to the marketplace again, just to see how it's responding year to year. So just so you know, we're not just renewing it year to year. You're going to get the attention that you need. And monitoring the marketplace and knowing how every line of coverage is trending in the marketplace is something that we pride ourselves in. We do it for all of our clients. It's important that the value that we bring to our clients is something that's what we do.
I'm also going to share that Michelle, Chris and I started looking at this, 3 years ago? 5 years ago, 40 years ago? And, we started when Diane Winter was here, reaching out to our insurance company, which is Utica National. And did we ever get a response from Utica National?
There was some back and forth. There was an initial response, but when I asked questions, they were never answered. But that was where it fell apart. When I started picking it apart and asking my questions about it, and then the response.
Yeah, Utica is a huge carrier for us, and we do a lot of business with them. They have a nice product. They're not cyber market. I wouldn't recommend. If they have a cyber coverage, it's going to be a small supplement. It's not nowhere near as broad as what you really need.
So I just want to let you know, you asked, why are you going to insurance brokers? That was our journey. Has ever,
So I know we have very robust IT staff and expertise here. Have we done everything on our end to make sure that our system is as cyberproof as a system can be? Is that even possible?
Michelle is smiling behind your shoulder.
Great question.
We're always trying. You know, that is our goal. We're always doing what we can to keep everything protected. We have a lot of stuff in the hosted environment now, which takes some of that responsibility away from our 5-man team to the, resources that the Innovative has to do the whole hosted thing and Amazon Web Services and all that. So yeah, we're always doing things. We do a lot of lockdown. We do a lot of things. We just recently started doing phishing training to try to help with some of that.
Thank you.
Engineering.
That's great.
Yeah.
And just
Very excited.
to add to that, the benefits of having it being with a true cyber carrier, they offer a lot of free services to their clients as well. They'll come in and they'll run tests. They'll tell you if you have ports open, they'll tell you what you can do to make things better. It's actually kind of a cool thing. Of course, they have stuff you can pay for as well, but assuming you want to proceed with this, we're happy to engage them, see what's free initially.
Right.
See
Do
where we
they,
can.
for instance, do they have virtual training and things like
Yeah,
that?
I'm sure that a lot of them will have online portals as well with self-serve information and materials, so.
Some of the auditing would be well.
Yeah,
We need to do more of that. The external auditing. So yes, we're doing, we're doing our best. We really are trying, but honestly, nothing's 100%. And there's, I can touch on why the libraries locally need cyber insurance. We can't control what everybody's doing in the library, whether it be staff or public. Very innocuous things can happen in bad things. Those local libraries also have information that could be at risk that has nothing to do with the automation, the local books, the local personnel records, all of that. None of that would be covered by this policy. So there are reasons, very good reasons for libraries to have their own local cyber coverage.
yeah, and
But that's
add to that as well, I like you got the cyber smarts. So the cyber is cool because it has the first party coverage, which covers SALS as well as third party coverage. So again, to what you just said, you have customers with driver's license numbers and whatever they're storing in the system to get whatever they get from the system. It extends, if that information is compromised, that's the third party trigger. It's not just covering. And that will extend down to the libraries as you get your own policies as well. So it's a first party coverage and a third party coverage as well.
Which again includes those 3 years of free credit reports, right, that New York State mandates, or the Utica Act. That kind of stuff. So very robust. And again, at Upstate, we probably have, I think, between 12 and 13 libraries that we cover right now. And just like all my clients, when I go out and see them, we just reiterate to them, stop clicking on links. That's the biggest thing. I say it in the beginning, I say it in the middle, just stop clicking, because again, it's human nature. That's where, cyber is all about, and ransomware. It's that, and also, again, always the biggest one's always been when you have a third-party vendor that comes in and they want to, your HVAC, and they want to update the HVAC or turn down the temperature. Unfortunately, usually what happens, they do it on a Saturday or Sunday, and when they back out they leave the port's open, and then the people find it in that way. So again, human nature, if we all can, learn, what that is.
We didn't allow our
Good.
HV.
And
It has to be
Thank you,
done
Sarah.
internally.
and actually, in all our member libraries, we have separate segregated networks for any of the phone services network.
Yep.
Because we recognize that.
Yeah.
There's so many.
Yes.
And our fax machine is on its own line,
Nice.
and our copy machine can't do
Wow.
things other people's copies machines. I mean, we really tried to do the best we could
Yeah.
to protect, because we take it very, very seriously.
It's the best practice, right? And if we can just get that out to all the members, life would be easier.
Can I ask one other? We have various size libraries, various size staffs and various size budgets, but I know that. I'm not sure if it's all of the libraries, but I know that several of the libraries are exploring individual policies, right?
Yes, yeah,
And several of the libraries have already started training their staff, like dual authentication and things like that. To protect from the individual library's perspective too, so it's underway, it's like anything else, it's gonna take a while. to
And that
roll.
will help as you start to explore standalone cyber products for those libraries, having the MFA, the multi-factor authentication, those protocols and procedures in place from an underwriting standpoint. More carriers will want to write it. If you don't have those procedures up front, they'll decline it. So it's good to hear that steps are being taken to make sure those systems are in place.
That was like,
Excuse me, that was sort of part of my question is, in order to write this policy for SALS or for the individual libraries, are there certain expectations or minimum standards that they have to meet in order to get this coverage?
Well, this coverage has already been offered in sales.
Right,
So
but
there's a couple of subjectivities on the quote that I noticed, and Kevin can discuss
Yeah.
that if we just get to that point, but
this is based on their current infrastructure.
correct,
Yes.
yes. So every library, assuming that you proceed with every library getting their own separate cyber product, you all have to fill out your own applications. You'll all answer what systems and procedures you have in place, whether it's MFA or whatever it may be. So at that time, when they release the quote, they'll say, here's your quote, it's contingent on X, Y, and Z.
Okay.
That may include implementing MFA and whatever else.
Just the MFA is multi-factor authentication, and we have had libraries who have, and we've had several implement that in order to get cyber.
Mhm.
And it's a great practice.
and I've talked to the carrier that we're offering right now, again, to go down to the locals. And there definitely is a different application that won't, I have Sarah on that, and I'll be involved in helping that transition through. So.
Is everyone here familiar with Upstate Agency? We should have said that before we started, who we are and
Give us that.
so. So we're the insurance arm of Arrow Financial. So Arrow is the publicly traded multi-holding bank up in Glens Falls. They own Glens Falls National, Saratoga National. We're the insurance arm. So I'm Kevin Rosinski. I run the commercial division. Kevin's the senior vice president for us. He does everything from claims to fire departments to our schools. He's a huge asset to the organization. Bleeds green and dark crimson red for Glens Falls National. But we've been around for a very long time. We're growing. A lot of really great success and changes happening where we are. We're equipped to handle anything, any account of any complexity, any business. So we're happy to be here speaking on this week.
Back in 2010, Glens Falls National Bank had purchased Upstate Agency, McPhillips Agency, Capital Financial, and Loomis and Wapan. So in 2015, I was able to bring all those together, and the end result was Upstate Insurance Agency. Basically, there were family agencies, and the owners that retired. And again, we basically go from Clifton Park all the way up to Plattsburgh. We have we can come to Waterford, exactly.
We have accounts in Chicago.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
We can handle anywhere. So, but yeah, Kevin's been doing this for a long time. I've been doing this for almost 17 years now. I spent most of my career, I've been with a couple large national brokers. So I'm happy to be here. Great team, great company. So
Russ, do you want to ask Eric if he has any questions?
Yeah, Eric, do you have any questions from your end?
Not at this point, no, thanks.
Thank you. So has everybody's questions been answered?
Well, I'm not sure the question is directed towards the Kevins, but I was just wondering, does JA have network diagrams for the individual libraries, including their public segments?
Yes.
Good, good.
We also have very strict rules on what can't be done on those. We have.
Just a comment, there's no pressure on the group. However, I have on a monthly basis have 6 of your member agencies that libraries have called me to get the application. When is this all going to get done? So no pressure.
That's good.
Good, thank you very much.
Yeah, and if you have any
Very
questions,
informative, yeah.
sometimes you think about things after the fact, just let us know. We're always available. I'm gonna leave a packet on my card as well.
Oh, very good.
Not that it really means an awful lot from my standpoint, but I happen to have known Kevin for 30-some years. And then I can speak for his integrity and his, you know, in fact, his whole family.
Thank you.
He just likes the pancakes.
He's like his mother's pancake recipe, and he'll share that with you.
Sure.
Well, he hasn't shared that with me.
Thank you so much. We've been in
Yes.
for all the time.
Thanks, folks.
Thank you.
Enjoy the rest of your meeting.
You,
Either
are you in
way.
the parking lot?
Yeah.
Michelle,
Oh,
please
okay.
sort you out.
Okay, great. Thank you all very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. I think that's very informative. Moving on here. Okay, next item on the agenda is public comment. Is there any public comment? Okay, seeing none, we'll move on.
Does Erica have any public comments?
Erica, any comments? No.
Not at this time. I'm working up to it. Yeah.
She's not really a member of the public, but that's all right. Okay.
No, she's monitoring.
Oh,
the
monitoring.
checks.
Okay. Well, it would have to be during this period anyhow. Otherwise, we'll take it at the next board meeting. Okay, let's move on to the approval of the minutes from the March 21st meeting. Are there any additions or corrections to the meeting minutes of March 31st? Okay, I'll entertain a motion to file these. Jordan, is there a second? Seconded by Margaret. Any discussion? All those in favor? Any opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, the motion carries. Treasurer's report, Robert.
Okay, treasurer's report for March. We started off the month of March with $1,969,000. We received $172,540. Of that, it was just normal things with the exception of the Saratoga County aid of $35,000, which came in the month of March. And we spent $202,368, leaving us with $1,938,827. Our CDs, we have 2 CDs that are maturing in April. In fact, I just renewed them this morning. They actually expire tomorrow. The first one, which was at 4.3%, that was a 60-day original maturity, and we're rolling it over for another 60 days because in the month of June, we're going to need some of that money, so we're just going short term with that. Colleen and I, mainly Colleen, did the spreadsheet. I asked her to come up with a spreadsheet that shows us our cash flow projections for the entire year, and will be updated each month. In the month of June, using the new system, shows that we would go, into the negative at that point. So that's being renewed for 60 days at 4.2%, which was just a little bit lower than what it was. Now the other one was at 1.9%. I'm going with 180 days on that, and that will go up to 4.8%.
Wow.
So we're gonna have some good interest coming in this particular year.
Excuse me.
So there is an upside to inflation then.
There is, if you're not a borrower, there's,
Right.
we're not borrowers.
All right, and warrants for the month.
The warrants were in your packet. And if you have any questions on the warrants, either Colleen or I would be glad to answer those.
Okay, and I think now we're just simply filing the treasurer's report if there's no objection. All right, let's move along to the director's report. Sarah.
I really don't have a whole lot to say. My report was the cyber insurance. What I can tell you is that we don't have a state budget. And I think it's been extended until Thursday, perhaps. So it might be extended. I hear there are two sticky, too important but difficult issues to resolve. Our budget and what our budget was going to be for this year, we still don't know. But we're making up with interest, aren't we?
And of course, the later the adoption of the budget, the later our payment will come.
Right.
Yeah.
So we're already 2 weeks. We split our window, which is usually mid to late July. It could be, mid to late August.
And I want to thank everybody that made it that we will probably not need to borrow money. We have enough money in our reserves to see us through this. So that's part of the reason Bob over the years always cautioned us and advised us to have a reserve, because we never know when we're going to see our state aid. Just to let you know, we're January through December. The state is
April
to
March through March.
So we kind of guess on what we're gonna be having as our, well, it's always a surprise. So that's fun. So I wanted to thank you for that. I also wanted to alert you, if you haven't seen it, I've sent it out as an email. SALS developed a statement that we shared with Russ to put out about libraries and what we do. I'm not going to read it, but I did send it to everyone in an email, and it is the first thing you see on the SALS website. I feel it's very important to understand what libraries do and not do, and that we're fully in support of our libraries and their programs. And everyone has, you've heard this, I have this slogan on about 5 shirts. I can wear one a day. Free people read freely. It's up to the individual to decide what they want to read or what they want to see. It's up to a parent to decide what they want to see and what they feel is appropriate for their children to view or see or read. And that is the right. And we feel, and following the First Amendment and all of the library's right to read, right to view, ethics statements, is that it's up to the individual. We don't censor and we don't recommend, and it's not up to somebody else telling you as parents, you as individuals, you as human beings, what's appropriate for you or your family or your loved ones. So just to let you know that I'm very proud that everybody felt that the statement was okay, and feel free to share it. I've even seen it I even saw it on Facebook. Some of the member libraries have taken it and posted it as well. So thank you all for that.
I can decide for myself, but I can't decide for you what you want to read or what you want to attend. As simple as that.
And the other cautionary tale is, if you're from a library, make sure their policies are up to date. This includes FOIL policies and procedures, reconsideration, your selection and program development, your collection development, your patron behavior. We're only as
like today, public comment.
in public comment.
At the board meetings, yes.
You need to be prepared before it becomes a crisis. So thank you for letting me lecture. Thank you.
We're glad you made it back from your train ride.
Oh, that's a whole nother story, but thank you.
Okay,
Oh, does anybody have any questions?
let's move on to committee reports. Janet, anything from audit and finance?
Nothing.
Okay. Chris?
Oh, yeah. So the committee met today. We had 16 libraries apply for.
Excuse me, the chart is in everybody's,
Yeah, looks like it. 16 libraries applied. We have $50,000 to give in construction grants, and the 16 libraries total requests came to $71,294. Therefore, we hashed over it for a good hour today, and we prioritized requests related to ADA compliance and to staff patron health. Also applications that would help libraries better position themselves for long-term improvement. So we refused a few grants because we thought that the libraries had other avenues to find funding for these particular items, and also because we had to prioritize certain other things. So this, I'm not gonna itemize, I don't need to itemize verbally each library, should
why
I?
don't you, so we get it into the minutes?
Okay. So the Boston Library, looking for architect design for their HVAC, we granted them $5,000, the full amount they could request. Bolton,
No, it's-
No, it says we
whoops,
do.
I'm sorry,
792.
I'm not looking at the right column. Because we had to do the, because we had to split the money, we granted them $37.92, a reduced amount.
What is that, 75% or something?
It was,
Yeah, it's a little over 70%.
Bolton for air duct cleaning, because that was staff patron health, we gave them the full request, $48.20. Half Moon, building a sensory space, we granted them a reduced amount of $37.92. Easton, asking for architecture and grant writing assistance, we granted them the reduced amount of $37.92. We declined to give money to Greenwich for their AV equipment request. Indian Lake, requesting an exterior ADA compliant door. We granted them the full $5,000 they requested. We rejected Lake Pleasant Stone Walkway. We rejected Luzerne's Furniture for their YA space. We granted Mechanicville's full request to replace their boiler. Salem, we granted their full request for LED lighting. Schuylerville, we rejected the electrical vehicle charging station. In Stillwater, we granted them a reduced amount of $37.92 for teen space. Stony Creek, we granted them the full amount requested for new flooring. Warrensburg and Warrensburg, looking for an architect for the long range plan, a reduced amount of $37.92. Waterford, project management fees for the new roof, a reduced amount of $37.92. And Whitehall, requesting monies to create a new library office space. We granted them the full amount they requested, $5,000, which came to $50,001. And I understand that SALS.
Sal's gonna pick up the tab.
I will make the donation later today.
No, I'll speak to our treasurer about that. I don't even-
We can split it, right?
Yeah, we don't even need to do a budget adjustment for that, so. And I want to thank Chris because there's a lot of committee meetings today, but that was the longest and the thorniest of it, because obviously this is not the parallel meeting that we have with a larger amount when we get the state construction aid. So we had a limited amount of money. We had a lot of good proposals. and more than enough, so we had to make some judgments about it, and Chris did a great job.
Can I ask, I'm sure the decision to reject some of the requests isn't arbitrary, but I don't understand why some are rejected and some not. Can you explain, is there some general rule? that's-
In some cases, it was because, a little bit because of the weakness of the request, and in other cases, it was because we felt that there were other avenues for that library to find the funding.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions for Chris? Okay, this will, I think we'll wait.
Oh, yeah, because we need to have individual trustees recuse themselves. for the
Right,
vote on
right.
their-
Right, we'll need to go through the list. Why don't we wait till new business to do that?
Okay,
Okay, anything further from your committee, Chris?
nope.
Thank you. All right, bylaws, Jordan.
Nothing now, but I have a question, and it's not a question that needs to be answered now, but with the ad hoc succession planning committee, their subject, would that at all become something that would have to be then dealt with by either bylaws or personnel or both?
Bylaws, definitely.
To do what?
Does that eventually become something that affects?
If you wanted to make it a standing committee, but it's an ad hoc committee.
No, I don't mean the committee, I mean
The results.
succession, what they come up with.
The
Would that
recommendation.
eventually be something that would pass over to the bylaws committee and or the personnel committee? I see very much this possibility with personnel. Yes, yes, so I was just, it's just
There might
something.
be things in it that require
Both,
bylaws.
Yeah, it
Change, there may be something that we come
That's-
up with.
Yeah,
that might
it's just
require
something
bylaws.
that I'm bringing up now as something.
But it would
that-
go on a personnel manual.
Sure,
That's a good-
Okay.
That's a good question.
otherwise I have nothing.
Okay, Margaret, Central Library Head.
Well, we met today,
Ah.
like everybody else met today. And Erica might be able to help me out, but one of the things that was coming out of new legislation as is the central library aid money can be used for anything. Okay, there used to be stipulations on what this could be used for. And these are funds that assist in personnel as well as, for instance, books and e-content. It also covers personnel that Crandall may, because Crandall is the central library of this area. They also help the cost of running Overdrive and Libby. They also funds for Ancestry and Heritage Quest. So we went through all of these things and we decided to have 2 meetings per year. One to develop a budget of what to use these state funds for, and then one to evaluate the services. So that was basically what our meeting was about today. So no actions taken, or we don't know how much money we're getting from the state because the budget isn't passed yet. So that's where we stand on central library services.
Okay, you may have more to report to us at a later date. Thank you, Margaret. Okay, county aid coordinators. Let me see. Nancy, anything from Hamilton County?
No.
Okay. Chris, anything from Saratoga? Laura? And Elaine?
Nope.
Okay, none on that. Okay, library services, Carol.
Yes, we also met today. I think it was the first time we've met since before COVID, so it was kind of exciting. Yes. So we had 4 candidates for library service awards, and we are awarding 2 awards. So it was there were 4 nominees. Bolton Landing had a program providing books to school children, free books to school children. Mechanicsville had a series of 5 community band concerts, at which they also showcased the library services and the services of 4 other community partners, one at each night of their band concert. And they managed to get over 400 people out to each of these concerts, which we thought was a major achievement. Clifton Park Half Moon ran a satellite summer reading program to service an underserviced neighborhood in the community, which was a program of reading books to children, doing activities, and distributing free books to the children. And Glen Falls had an evening with George, and I can never pronounce his name.
Takar, George
Takar,
Takar.
who was Sulu on Star Trek. But he also has been an LGBTQ activist, and he also was interned in the Japanese internment camps during World War II. So he had a lot to talk about beyond just Trekkie stuff.
Actually, Carol, we didn't really cover Trekkie stuff.
At all.
Right, he was mostly talking about his experiences in the internment camp and of course his advocacy for the
Right.
LGBTQ.
So they had over 1,000 attendees. They had to move it from, first it was scheduled to be in the library, then it was scheduled to be in the Charles Wood Theater, and they finally had to go to the high school auditorium in order to be able to accommodate everyone. So we looked at the 4 programs, and we also looked at how each nomination adhered to our rubric for awarding the awards. And we decided that Mechanicsville's program and Glens Falls program had the most community impact, that they did best working with community partners. They were the most innovative. They enhanced, they provided enhanced services to the community. So we are recommending that Mechanicsville and Glens Falls receive the Program of the Year awards.
Okay, any questions? We'll also consider this under new business. All right, let's see, personnel, Anna.
We also met today. And we went through the applicants for trustee award, and we found out we could give 2, which was helpful. So one was from Burnt Hills, which is also Boston Library, and it was for a team, Tom Shaginaw and Steve Zarelli, both trustees for a long time, 10 years and 11 years, who have worked on the transition of their library from a municipal library to a special district library, and which is a very complicated process, and way over and above what would normally be expected of a trustee to do. Something that Sarah said was needed for 50 years. So,
Since they started.
and then the second one was from Bolton Free Library, Carla Cumming, who is now the VP, was the president from 2018 to 22, and did a lot for the library in terms of getting grants for capital improvements. And she also has a plant sale where she grows all the plants herself and sells them, made $14,000 just for that. And Clifton Park Half Moon Library, A. Edwin Roger, who has been described as an extraordinary individual who's been a member for 50 years. He was a trustee, a mentor, managed the finances. He was the treasurer and the president of their board. He has made tireless commitment. He guaranteed their original mortgage for the library, established a foundation, and many other things. The fourth one was Caldwell Lake George, Todd Earl, who has been a trustee for 10 years. He has also been making improvements, authorizing improvements and getting grants to do a lot of things to improve the library and its garden, parking, furnace, all these things. And the last one was Salem, Bancroft Public Library, Edward Donahue, He also has been on the board 7 years, was the president for 5 years, and got grants for a lot of improvements to that physical library, and also worked on the library's policies. So after a bit of discussion and looking at the rubrics that we have, where really we wanted someone who not only had been a member of the Board of Trustees, but had initiated services, programs, or community involvement on behalf of the library, demonstrated exemplary leadership characteristics, and pursued excellence in the library, sought to have the library make a difference in the community. We decided to give 2 awards, one to the team at Burnt Hills who worked on the transition of their library, and one to A. Edwin Roger, who was so instrumental for 50 years at the Clifton Park Ashland Library. So that's our recommendation.
Okay, any questions? All right, we'll consider this under new business as well. Thank you, Janet. Trustee nominating.
Nothing except that will be finalized, I guess would be the word, at the annual meeting
Right.
next month.
And Barbara, ad hoc succession planning committee.
We did not meet this month, and if anybody has a few minutes after the meeting,
Yes.
we wanted, okay.
Okay, unfinished business, the quote. This is for the cyber insurance, is it?
No, this is for boardable. Jack said that he would get the quote for boardable,
Yes,
and that's what this is. It's not an action item, but it could be an action item if you want to add it. And people are still interested in it.
I like the way they're doing it now, very good. But I mean, that's all what I consider to be the problem. How they did it internally. I thank and congratulate them.
I have a problem. I know I came up with Boardable to begin with, but I'm trying to find what I can show you. When you put a document on Boardable, and we use it at Crandall Library, when you put a document on Boardable, they had changed their format. So if you're looking at this document on a small device, which the whole idea of this is so that you can, communicate and have a device at the meeting so that you can look at all documents. What happens is that they have this, they decrease the size of the document that you're seeing so that it's virtually impossible to see it on your phone. I barely can see it on my iPad, that I have to sit at a desktop to be able to read the documents that come.
And you can't expand it.
And you can't expand it. It's so, I mean, maybe it's me. I'm trying to find my latest, just so that I can show you what it looks like. So, basically, what I'm thinking is I'm withdrawing my support of this, and it's expensive. Let's see if I can log in. That's another problem I keep having with logging in.
This is boardable, not
Yes.
what we're doing.
No, this is Boardable. Okay, so here is a meeting that we had today. So we're going to documents. So here's our budget. We had a budget and finance meeting today. So this is what, and I can pass this around. So this is what your budget looks like. It's all in the red. Right, it's. No, but see, what happened is that
Shrinks it.
it shrinks it, that you can't even read it, especially if it is a,
Oh my God.
right? So.
That's really, yeah.
So really, you can't read it,
That'd be worthless to me.
absolutely. So,
yeah.
and, so that was that's my problem with Boardable. right now is that, and then there are times where somebody posts a document onto Boardable and I can't find it. I mean, I know that it's, so I'm just withdrawing my support of this particular service, and it's expensive. So, and it was something that Crandall did not, not through the Board of Trustees, but they did it through their, regular business management so, and like I said, and you got these little things here where make comments.
So, but if you had not, Margaret, brought this up, we wouldn't have thought about what was really needed for you all to do your business. So thank you.
However, and back to that,
Erica, are you taking notes?
back to this, if you look at what we get from you, right? We get an email. There's the agenda. You have all your attachments underneath the agenda. We don't need it. As far as I'm concerned, we communicate well, amongst ourselves as well as, through email. So.
It seems to me
Perfectly
like it's
happy with
just
it, too.
another layer of, technology that we don't need.
Yes.
Which
That's
could lead to a cyber.
Exactly. We could click on the wrong thing.
But if we didn't have this robust conversation over the past few months, I don't know if you saw the newest one, Jack and Pamela were thinking, what makes it even easier? So now everything is linked.
Yeah.
So as you go through, you can get to everything and
Really good.
But you do that just through an email. That's
It's all on the email.
right. That's what I
Between
see.
Pamela and Colleen, we get all of it anyhow.
Right.
Well, I was having trouble reading the zip files. Remember, so things that have a lot, it's probably just me and my laptop, but I couldn't open the zip files. But this where you have it right on the website, I mean, all the forms you need are right there, and it's just so big and you can see it and it's pretty
And you
easy.
can go back to the past too.
Right.
in fact, we had a question in one of our meetings earlier. When was the last time a library got? And we were able to go right to the board meeting minutes from a year ago and said, okay, these were the winners. So we're really trying to be transparent, but also have at your fingertips anything you might ever want to know about SALS, and you don't have to memorize it. It's important because you make important decisions, and we want to just make sure you have everything you all need to do the work as a trustee. So thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, would this be you again, Jordan, Hamilton County vacancy?
No,
Well, we got a volunteer in Nancy, so thank you.
You're welcome.
Thanks, Nancy. All right, let's move on to new business. Go back to Chris, and if you just briefly introduce, we've heard the individual, but introduce I think we need to do it one at a time, probably. Just give us the name and the amount.
Okay, for the Boston Spa Library, the amount is $3,792.
Okay, all of these will be committee recommendations. They do not require a second. So if there's no discussion, all those in favor? Any opposed? Any abstentions? Next.
Wait, would you just ask Jill if she's got it?
Did you get it, Joe? Are you getting these?
Yes.
We're just following the list down. Yeah, so that was the first one. Go ahead.
Bolton, the amount approved was $4,820.
Any questions? All those in favor? Any opposed? Any abstentions? The motion passes.
For Clifton Park Half Moon, the amount approved was $3,792.
Discussion? All those in favor?
Wait, don't some people have to, oh,
He
never
doesn't.
mind, never mind,
What?
never mind. I
Okay.
apologize.
All those in favor? Any opposed? One abstention.
Easton, the amount approved was $3,792.
All those in favor? Any opposed? Any abstentions?
For Greenwich, we did not approve their request.
Okay, I think you can just skip that.
Okay. Indian Lake, we approved $5,000.
Any discussion? All those in favor? Any opposed? Any abstentions?
I think we have to abstain.
Nancy abstains.
Lake Pleasant, Lake Pleasant and Lake Luzerne, we did not approve their requests. Mechanicville, we approved $5,000.
All those in favor? Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion passes.
Salem, we approved $2,429.
All those in favor? Any opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, motion passes.
Stillwater, we approved $3,792.
All those in favor? Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion passes.
Stony Creek, we approved $5,000.
All those in favor? Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion passes.
Warrensburg, we approved $3,792.
All those in favor? Any opposed? Any abstentions?
Elaine abstains, Jill.
Waterford, we approved $3,792.
All those in favor? Any opposed? Any abstentions?
Jill, Chris
Chris.
Connell, I abstained from Waterford. Whitehall, we approved $5,000.
All those in favor? Any opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, thank you.
Can I ask, why wouldn't we vote on the ones that receive nothing since there's decisions on that too?
Because we're only approving what we're appropriating.
Okay, I think it's-
The others were discussed in the committee report in the
Okay.
discussion.
Okay,
And if you need any follow-up further on detail, you can consult with Christine on that, right, Chris?
Or Sarah.
Yeah. All right, let's move on to Program of the Year awards.
Okay, we approved and would like to nominate Mechanicville and Glens Falls to receive the Program of the Year awards.
Okay, do we need to do those separately? Oh, well, there might be some abstentions. Okay, so Mechanicville. Any further discussion? All those in favor? Any opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, the motion carries. And,
Glens Falls. Randall Library.
right, all those in favor? Any opposed? Any abstentions? Margaret abstained. Okay, that motion carries too. Thank you. All right, and we'll move on to Trustee of the Year awards.
Okay, we nominated Burke Hills, the team of Tom Shaginaw and Steve Zarelli.
All those in favor? Any opposed? Any abstentions? The motion carries.
And for Clifton Park Half Moon, we nominated A. Edwin Roger.
All those in favor? Any opposed? One abstention, Jill. Okay, thank you, and thank you, committee chairs. It was been a busy day. All right, and now we come to Hamilton, Saratoga, and Washington County Board nominations. Those go to the,
I would think it would be Nancy.
okay.
I don't know what that means. To be honest with you.
We just said, what, aren't these going to be approved at the annual
Right.
meeting? So can we skip that?
Yes.
We can skip that item, okay? All right. All right, and then the last meeting under new, or last motion under new business is the SALS portion of the cyber insurance quote. You heard the information. Is there any further discussion on this?
So what is that dollar amount?
9,000.
No. Well, let me,
Here, I've got it right now. It's
$9,000.
$5,783.
the quote for
For the
the
remainder.
combination, the quote for the combination of, we have to cover the JA staff because the JA staff live in this building. And we are administratively responsible for them. The JA really doesn't exist, but it's a budget line that gets money from SALS, Mohawk Valley, and all of the member libraries in both systems. So I asked that, is there a way to break it up so that SALS isn't paying for what is a JA expense, if that makes any sense?
It does.
And it was done at a 60-40. So the quote is for 9,000 something.
638.
And when speaking with them, of the $9,638, SALS out of the SALS operating funds would be responsible for $5,782.80. I won't even begin to tell you what the first amount was. And I said, you've got to be kidding.
All right, so the motion is for rounded 5783 for the SALS portion of the cyber insurance.
83 or 38?
83.
83.
Are we looking for someone to make that motion right now?
Yeah, maybe from finance,
Doesn't matter.
Can come from anybody.
anybody. Okay, Elaine, is there a second? Seconded by Jordan. Any discussion? It was pretty well covered by the presentation. All those in favor? Any opposed? The motion carries. Thank you.
I cannot thank you enough.
Well, really, it's just common sense.
So the next step, and then if you didn't pass it now, we wouldn't have it until June, because there's not an official board meeting until June. We're gonna bring this back to JA council, and I can't imagine JA council, can't speak for them, but not wanting some protection.
Okay, is there a director's council report? Alex? No?
Sorry, I don't even think I attended the last one. Sorry, so I do not, and I think there's a meeting this Friday.
Okay, no report. Thank you, Alex. All right, any other comments, questions, announcements? All right, so our next meeting is going to be our annual meeting on May 15th, 5 p.m. And then as all the relatively social people, we'll see you at 5 instead of at 6. I'll be happy to buy around for the board and for your service through, during and post pandemic. Look forward to meeting in person for the first time in 3 years. Remember we had to cancel last year for the last time. Thank you very much to the skeleton staff today. Thank you, Erica and Joe remote. And we will meet again in May. And we are adjourned.
Well, then we have to vote on it.